Hello, it's Sunday, it's Setons, 8 commanders, fortune alliances, 2 teams, but only one shall reign supreme. This game, some of the strangest tactics, plenty of horseplay and tomfoolery that I've ever seen. Friends, welcome to another Sunday Setons special. It's 2125 versus 2100 on the teams. Let's go and take a look. Still waiting on a team that's going to average out 25-25 so that I can try singing that old classic and ruining it. The year 2525, if man is still alive. Great song if you haven't heard it, but better still is today's game. And if the thumbnail didn't entice you in, nothing ever will. Ladies and gentlemen, Setons 4 versus 4 Pro going down on the 1st of April. I'm casting this on the 2nd of April, so you can be spared from any stupid jokes. And with all that said and done, try and hit that magic button. All right, here we go. Okay, all right, so let's take a little look then. Zooming out, we shall unpause the game and we'll bring our fellow commanders in, and we'll start on team 1 this time in the forward position. Some of these making a debut to the channel, some of them being old-time classics, and that, I think, Rezy Noob, one of the players that we've not yet seen before in Sion, on the front for team 1 then, 2100 rated. Feel kind of lost without my little background music. I'll tell you what, we'll get some cheering on just while the action gets going. Otherwise, it just feels like I'm talking in an empty room, and, well, if you're like me and you get nervous easy and that, and it starts freaking yourself out. So, a bit of background noise there. Further to his north is Terarii on the beach, the 2100 rated. Going Seraphim, also their first land in Burgundy Red. In the back for Team 1, guy going on air today is Blast Chilled, 2000 rated. This guy featuring very prominently throughout the years on cast. Must have a lot of games under his belt there. 2000 rated in, well, the sort of bogey, horrible yellowish bogey colour. 2000 rated, I think that's enough of that descriptive analogies there. Apologies to anybody who's trying to enjoy a meal. It's after all Sunday. 2000 rated player there. And then last but not least for Team 1 on rock position, 2300 is EspiranTo. I'm sure this guy featured on the last cast I did. If not, it was the one before. UEF 2300 rated, the highest rated player on his team, going first air. Over to the other side then, let's start with EspiranTo's opponent on beach. It's InsidiousNoob, 2000 rated. He's going Cybran as purple first land and is already marching out towards the mid. In the back slot for Team 2, it's trandan, 2000 rated, another UEF player. This guy doing air, going first, land in the rear there, and as we see all too often these days, already getting himself the upgrade. 2 minutes 11 seconds, and it's almost halfway done. Hasn't even finished getting his hydro, and he's upgrading. Is that able to work without stalling? Yes, it is. Trandan showing how it's possible to upgrade a mass point with just 2 Tech 1 mass energy plants. What am I talking about? 2 Tech 1 energies, and he's using engineers to reclaim all the trees there. Has now finished himself getting the hydro. But I would never have guessed it was possible to expand that much off just 2 P-gens. That's the word I'm looking for, P-gens. All right, further to his north, we'll slow down time just a tad. Looks like we've already got some buku movement up on the mini-map. And Chief Jaguar here, 2000 rated, going Aeon. I think our first Aeon in the game so far. And his Electric Blue, 2000 rated, first. Difficult to say now because I didn't see it, but either I'm going to suspect it was first land, second air, although I can't prove it. Actually, I'm going to go with that, as soon as there's no air on the map as of yet. Yeah, first land, second air. He's got his hydro, he's got his P-gen, and there's his first transport. And so, guys, look at this. 3 minutes and 11 seconds to get a transport with 3 engineers up and out of the base, in addition to expanding. And so there is your target if you're somebody that likes to try and learn from the pros. There you go. And so with that, I think we'll ask the crowd to simmer on down, and we'll resume full pace. All right. Really does feel like there's something missing without that music. I know it was a little glitch last time. Don't want to risk trying it again this time. Take a little look in the middle. Thank goodness when you zoom in, there's a little bit of sound. And we've got our first bit of action today. And that is RezyNoob takes a few shots at TheWheelie. Wheelie content with reclaiming for now. RezyNoob also with a solitary tank in tow. The Tech 1 Seraphim tank. I think FAMs, indeed they are. I'm slowly beginning to learn these names. You know, I played this for years and I could never remember the names of anything. I always would describe the units by what they did rather than what they were called. And this time, Wheelie's turn to take a few shots at Rezy, but I don't think he's going to worry about that. The UEF, as well as the Seraphim, two of the strongest commanders in the game up front. And Rezy, for now, content with reclaiming a couple of the Salem wrecks, then decides, no, I'll leave my teammate to do that. Terarii coming down there, the 2100 from Team 1 up top. First stop is to bag himself that reclaim. Still got a one-on-one in the middle, and now with InsidiousNoob rolling up onto the scene. 2000 rated Cybran from Team 2 now makes it 2 commanders apiece. And Wheelie there, he was getting some nice shots on some of these Tech 1 units from RezyNoob. Perhaps strolled a little deeper than he would have liked. Picks up both of those. In fact, Wheelie here, already with 6 kills, and to be real helpful to me, has renamed his commander N and then star, 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 star. Bit of 2-on-1 action there. InsidiousNoob struggling just a little bit. Wheelie moves round into position and again having his way with some of these Tech 1 units, ensuring RezyNoob is not allowed to build up critical mass. Well, critical numbers, let's say, of units on the line. Gets an overcharge in there. I'm surprised that Wheelie was able to afford an overcharge at 5.5 minutes, but he did. Takes out 2 units with it, and is already about 80% on his way to his first rank of vet. Bringing a few units through of his own now, and is content with fighting. I think Wheelie feels, I've got enough mass. It's time to focus on the action. And just a couple of kills away, I think, from getting his first rank of vet. I'm sure he would like to get that before having to back off, but does elect to back off. Has an engineer or 2 in tow as well. And this will enable Wheelie to get a real fast upgrade should he wish. And so we'll zoom out just a little bit, see how things are going. Overall, the Chief Jaguar gets his side island. And no surprises there, EspiranTo gets his. And so as far as it goes, pretty much 50-50 here. And we've got our first little bomber run here from a Chief Jaguar moving across the map. And perfect shot on the 2 engineers going for a naval yard there belonging to Terarii. That's going to really bring him back. Just 1 hit point on this bomber. And gets 3 more kills, 5 in total. And with that, its first rank of vet. And now it's going to start regenning. I can't believe the bomber had 1 hit point left and was able to bag itself another 3 engineers because of it. Drops another bomb off on the Tech 2 mass point. That's not going to get any further action there. Very nice attack there from Achieved Jaguar. Inside the, well, 7th minute at that particular moment in time. Upgrades going down in the middle. The 2 commanders pulling off to their respective sides. And this time the bridge is bang on 50-50. I always like to sort of figure out, you know, how a team's doing in terms of land control, and today it really is 50-50. See there, the no man's land with no units from either player. And now ping's going down. Don't retreat, says Wheelie. He doesn't want InsidiousNoob running away, and InsidiousNoob thinks, oh, I was gonna go, but all right, whatever. And Wheelie trying to rush attack missile launcher here, and because that's very early, inside 8 minutes, as long as he can afford to run that, of course, the TAC missile launcher, like the strategic nukes and so on, they don't really work if you don't have the eco. They're like the first unit that go down. Now with a solitary Tech 2-point defense, that's going to dissuade RezyNoob from hanging around here for too long. Rezy Noob going with a Tech 2 point defense of his own. Air factory here as well. And do we have any missiles? Not yet. And does TheWheelie know where to shoot? Yes, he does. Who's this? I like that. The question, who is it? Well, I don't know. And he's assisting his tactical missile launcher. I assume he wants a couple of missiles in the clip before he starts firing, so that Rezy Noob has the minimum amount of time to react to it. And there we see the first missile coming out. And the second one is about ready. And there that one goes. And he's caused the TAC missile launcher to pause. And so I suspect he thinks he can't get any more. He bags himself a Tech 2 mass point up there. And look at that. He's stopped it building. He must think that's all I'm going to get. Those 2 missiles. And Rezy Noob not reacting to it just yet. He's trying to get himself a TAC missile defense online here, but I think it's going to be too little too late. And he bags himself the Tech 2 power generator. So that's not going to be very nice for Rezy. And with that, Rezy now working on another TAC missile defense here. And so, yeah, look at that play from TheWheelie. He knows he can only get 2 missiles out before the other guy responds. And so he doesn't even bother working on a third. He goes for 2, blows up his missile launcher and reclaims. Is 1 Tech 2 mass point and 1 Tech 2 power generator worth it for a TAC missile launcher? I don't know. It feels... If you add in the fact that the other guy then starts putting TAC missile defense up, and you see he is working on a third, you could almost say it's worth it because of the other guy building a counter to something that then you're not even going to use anymore. 10 minutes! And Terarii is on brink of losing Beach. We've seen this once before just recently. Or perhaps it was the game I didn't cast. It was another pro level Setons in any case, where one of the guys on Beach was kicked out inside, I think it was 12 minutes he was kicked out. And looks like Achieved Jaguar may be about to break that record. We've got 1 naval yard left from Terarii here. I don't believe this. He's going to lose it inside 11 minutes. And he has. 10 minutes, 47 seconds. Beach is completely kicked out. And I like what Achieved Jaguar's done here. Look at this very, very aggressive naval yard drop here. We've got 6 naval yards. He will have dropped some engineers over here. And this is going to allow him to resupply the front line very, very quickly. The only weak point of this is, and guys, if anybody ever does this to you, get a TAC missile launcher online ASAP and fire at these factories. You cannot allow this to propagate. Get your center Tech 2, you know, as like, obviously if it's in range, right? And if it's out of range, well, the yards would have been further back anyway. I would suspect if you have a TAC missile launcher, probably anywhere on this coastline will do. Even a commander with a mobile TAC missile pack. Because as soon as this guy gets Tech 2, in this case Achieved Jaguar, he can put himself a cruiser here, and that cruiser is going to provide not just anti-air cover, but block any further TAC missiles. And look at it, he's already going for the Tech 2 naval yard, his Achieved Jaguar. So, word to the wise there. It's a high risk, high reward play. If this goes down, clearly there's a lot of investment from Achieved Jaguar early on in the game for 6 naval yards, one of which going for Tech 2. And in this case, it seems to have worked massively in his favor, and Terarii is screwed. Oh, and it's that time. I said there was some tomfoolery gonna take place on this one. And TheWheelie says, yeah, I'm making a love heart. Walks into Tech 2 fire. And he's gonna wall himself in. Oh, Rezy Noob recognizes what's gone on. Is this the international sign for distress? Saying ceasefire, the equivalent of waving the white flag. And then TheWheelie holds fire as well. Rezy Noob tries to reclaim some of the love heart. Wheelie says, no, you don't. I suspect he just wants in. And like they seal it back up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's a first time for everything, and here you see it on a Setons 4 versus 4 prorated game. The two front players from the opposing teams hold fire and make love on the central bridge. You've seen it here for the first time. What's not to like about that? Meanwhile, elsewhere, action does continue to unfold in the usual way. I like that because traditionally, the front two players on Setons, once the initial bit of action is over and done with, there's very little going on there anyway. It seems more and more the front player sort of slides into the Navy, assisting, well, usually the one who's struggling the most. And if it's going 50-50, they usually help out the beach player, or indeed both. And so, yeah, like this, until we get to the experimental stage, it very much is a ceasefire situation here. I have a blueprint for a cat as well, says EspiranTo. Want to see it? And there is the blueprint. EspiranTo puts down some wall art with a cat, and that is a cool looking cat. Well, too late on the thumbnail now. I decided to have something with a little more explosive action, but it's nice to see these players, of course, have been playing together for years, despite in many cases never having seen each other. They feel like they know each other intimately. But I tell you, somebody that knows something intimately as well, and that's this Aeon Destroyer. Intimately knows the taste of these Seraphim torpedo bombs coming in from the Terraries. Terarii gets himself his first minor victory in the drink, and somehow Terarii gets himself in the drink and has a Tech 2 naval yard online, and he's there with his commander as well. A Chief Jaguar with an engineer here trying to be right aggressive, trying to reclaim what he can, and he's working on one of the naval yards belonging to Terarii, but I don't think it's working. It's glitching out. It's malfunctioning. I can't imagine it living too much longer. Nice little drop here from Terarii into the back of a Chief Jaguar's side island, and that is going to be a lot of destruction. Tech 2, all of these were Tech 2, and 4 out of the 5 were capped off, and there is no defense. And onto that, a Chief Jaguar's working on a Tech 2 naval yard over here. The other one's just a Tech 1, and I think he's going to lose this as well. Terarii with a lovely drop finds an undefended side island, and this is one of the most successful drops I've ever seen on a side island. It's just one load, but man, has he been made to pay. Takes out the land factory. These engineers are still trying to work on capping off that 5th mass point that we saw. And a Chief Jaguar's engineers, he's just trying to move him out of the way, it would seem. I'm not sure whether he's recognized this. Otherwise, I'd at least be trying to reclaim some of these, but I suspect no. Chief Jaguar says, I don't need the island. And TheWheelie laughs and says, human. Trandan, inside the 17th minute, has 5 broadswords on the far side, as well as a huge number of ASF. Guys, this is one of the most rapid air expansions I've ever seen. 5 broadswords, 68 ASF, inside 17 minutes. Wow. That is fast. Blast shield. Well, I'd be surprised if he even has that many ASF, let alone had time to work on, and he doesn't. He's got 21. Granted, we have been at war for a little bit here with these ASF. 69 remains for Trandan. But of course, the all-important broadswords, he's still got 4 left. And it looks like these broadswords are just going after the mass. Let's have a little look on mass income. 719 versus 695. 685 now for Team 1. And so these broadswords, well, they've chewed their ways through at least 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At least 6 tech-up mass points. Seems very quick to rebuild them. And these broadswords just having their way over here. Go after the engineers, surely. Well, I guess he's leaving them there to be. These are some of the most high-value broadswords I've ever seen. In fact, I think they have been inside. Well, look, we're still inside 19 minutes. Trandan. He may be about to lose one of them. I'm not so sure. I think it's a mistake to leave these last few engineers online. He goes for the Tech 3 mass point. Oh my goodness, the amount of damage that these have been able to give. Blast Shield throwing away more ASF, going after the heavily damaged broadswords. And as best I can tell, there's still one left alive. Trandan brings it out of the way, denies Terarii the reclaim, gets shot down anyway, and that does bag itself the Tech 3 mass point. Although 2 out of the 3 still online, I think that could have gone a lot worse for Terarii, all things considered. Terarii, though, meanwhile, repaying the favour with yet another artillery drop. He's moving some more in. Those do get themselves picked up, though. And this artillery piece here is a 5-star. Having killed 604 mass. Just the only one surviving. Terarii, I guess he moved these artilleries on from the side island there. And that's 1, 2, 3... 4 Tech 2 mass points belonging to a Chief Jaguar going down. And if he's lucky, I think he might even be able to keep this one online and get one more. And it's a Tech 2 capped off there belonging to a Chief Jaguar. We'll check back on that in a minute. More action going down over here. And once again, a Chief Jaguar kicks Terarii out of the drink. And Terarii, being Seraphim, switches gear, thinks, right, time for the old Tech 1 arty spam. Those of you that saw my replay from about, when was it? About 14 years ago, when I played Seraphim, actually on this very position, I spammed out artillery and dropped the entire base. It was in the days before the opponents scouted quite so well. Trandan now with a strap bomb rush. We've got 4 of them and a heavy air screen on the 20th minute. And these will be able to one-shot Tech 3 mass points between them. It kind of makes you think, where's Blast Shield? How has Trandan been able, the 2000 rated, been able to get together so much air so quickly and dominate as effectively as he has? Well, I think he loses his strap bombs there. Yes, he retains air supremacy. Always easy to say things like this in hindsight, but if he'd have sent his air screen in a little earlier, he would have easily won that air engage, as we see, and he would have been able to look after those strap bombers a little easier. 4 strap bombs on the 20th minute, in addition to the 5 broadswords, and all of those ASF. That is some masterful airplay indeed. And you can see how he was doing it. He held off upgrading to Tech 3, instead elected to rush all this air out at the Tech 2 stage, and now is upgrading to Tech 3. The damage being done. And so, strength to strength for Team 2. They've won air, they've won the Northern Sea. There's a stalemate or a ceasefire in the middle. Perhaps call it the DMZ, the demilitarized zone. There's the cat that we were speaking of. And so, yeah, you've seen it here first. The first demilitarized zone that Setons has ever seen. And the small silver lining, I think, for Team 1, and they need something, and that is this large destroyer push coming down from EspiranTo, who's decided, yeah, I've got critical mass. Time to push through. And takes out 1, 2. There's another naval yard at risk. Problem is, he's running into gunships belonging to Trandan here. Trandan has played a blinder and is now primarying the Tech 3 naval HQ belonging to InsidiousNoob. But InsidiousNoob's got so many engineers. Oh my goodness, he gets it. Not only was that the Tech 3 naval HQ, it was at least halfway done building a battleship. And with that, EspiranTo feels like job's done, throws shields forwards, and starts bringing his destroyers back. And Trandan, what a team player, pulls out a shed load of torpedo bombers, as well as these gunships, trying desperately to keep InsidiousNoob in the game. What a team player. Trandan, how have you been able to produce all of this air? Perhaps his build order is worth a case study, guys. He's won air, and he's able to put so much combat air support out in addition to winning air. And like I say, I think in large part because he held off going for the Tech 3 mass upgrades, instead electing to spend that mass on stuff that could actually shoot. And man, has it paid off. The question is it going to pay off longer term? Certainly did pay off short term. TheWheelie trying to work on an experimental aircraft carrier. UEF, the front player for Team 2. That gets taken out. And EspiranTo, yeah, he's right aggressive here, but he's not got the air. I've got a feeling, and it's not a very nice one, that all of this aggression is going to go down to this relentless air pressure from Trandan. Just feeling a little light on cruisers. All of this is destroyers. Yes, he's got shields and he's sprinkling in the occasional cruiser. But these torpedo bombers are getting more and more passes. These waves of 4, every time there's a wave of 4 torpedo bombers, usually they can pick off an unupgraded or an unvetted, should we say, destroyer. Certainly if it's already had a little bit of damage. And here we see another wave of 4. And providing Trandan can keep affording to throw these away, he's going to get more and more kills. But EspiranTo, credit to him, is not relinquishing the spot. But InsidiousNoob, he's Cybrant. He can afford to build these harms. You can see here the harms have been ground fired from these cruisers. Of course, they can't directly target these things. They're underwater, but you can manually do so, providing you've got the APM to do it. And TheWheelie now with a couple of support commanders in the drink, and that's a shed load of mass there for whoever wins that engage. Look at them all. Of course, if we can zoom out, we can combine those figures. And there we see some of them 8,500, 8,900, 4,000. And so, yeah, add all of that up. You're well over 20,000 mass right here. I can well understand why EspiranTo doesn't want to back off and leave that. And look at this front. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said it a million times. We saw it right there. The perfect front to engage targets here. The problem is when your opponent is spamming more and more of these harm systems up, the Cyber Tech 3 torpedo launchers, there's only so much time you can spend hanging around. It looks like TheWheelie is the first one to send support commanders forward and enjoy some of this reclaim. And he's building torpedo launchers of his own. These are Tech 2, the UEF ones. And I think with that, EspiranTo is going to have no choice but to back up. Yes, Blast Chill's trying to build some SAM sites in the area, but realizes he can't provide air cover as much as he would like. But Rezy Noob, 26 minutes, has himself the first experimental aircraft, and perhaps a sign of things to come. Credit to Terarii where it's due, as still on the coast. And there's the first bomb. 9 kills. Most of those were just frigates. But either way, together with all this spam from Terarii, just endless, it's enough to cause a Chief Jaguar to decide to pull back. And there's another nice bomb. 16 kills now. And how are we doing down here? Quick glance. Well, for the first time in a while, InsidiousNoob pushes all the way out with all of these frigates. And EspiranTo is at risk here of losing his advantage. Yes, he's got a lot of cruisers in the area. They're going to have to stay alive. gets close. My main reservation is all of this reclaim that's going to fall into Team 2's hands. But this experimental bomber up here now is 77 kills, having gone after the construction facilities there belonging to a Chief Jaguar. It's got a Tech 3 missile ship, one of the best ships in the game, certainly Aeon. Huge long range. It's like a Tech 2 UEF cruiser on steroids. And surely he's going to go after it, and he does, and that's surely the end of it. And there it is. 87 kills for the experimental bomber. It's a 1-star, having got itself 36,000. And I think with that, Terarii can breathe a sigh of relief, can start reconstructing these mass points. You see, he's still not finished doing so. These were all lost, and they're only still Tech 1, having just recently been done. But he does have himself a huge amount of mass to enjoy, and that'll help Terarii get back in the game right quick. He's got so many factories that have now been switched to engineers. He's going to be able to produce so much build capacity. He will be able to make use of all of this mass and get back in the game right quick, good, and pronto. It's like TheWheelie going after the side island. The Chief Jaguar says he didn't need it and decides not to go for it. I'm just wondering what's happened to the air belonging to Trandan. Let's have a quick look on the old numbers. 115 ASF belonging to Trandan, and Blast Shield has 112. So it's neck and neck air. And that's going to allow the experimental bomber there that belongs to Rezy to roam around the map with impunity, at least for now. And the ceasefire and the DMZ continues in the middle. They actually got 3 commanders here now. Terarii. EspiranTo's renamed his commander Friendly Commander. TheWheelie's commander remains as is. And a second experimental bomber on the line now from EspiranTo. 12 kills, 4,000 mass thus far. And what's he doing with it? I'm not sure. Oh, he could get so many kills here. And he's going for it. Oh my goodness. 101 kills. But this is where I saw something new. The interCONTINENTAL. Perhaps some people thought he means in the geographic sense. No, I mean in the UEF sense. Look at this. Huge waves of Tech 3 UEF transport with their bubble shields used as shielded ghetto gunships. And Blast Shield, despite having equal numbers of ASF, comes over, wins the air fight. Trandan shoots down the experimental bomber with the air. And all of that difference was thanks to, I think, TheWheelie's interCONTINENTALs. Let's start calling them interCONTINENTALs. But look at this. They are like broadswords. Look at them going after these battleships. Shielded up. The DPS, says RezyNoob. The DPS, indeed. The amount of damage per second this many can put out. And not only that, they've got built-in anti-air. Going after Blast Shield's torpedo bombers. Although Trandan does have ASF in the area as well. And EspiranTo's got to be feeling sick. He's got a huge number of battleships and they're completely undefended. And if things weren't bad enough, TheWheelie rolls in 5 experimental aircraft carriers under the water. The submarines there, we've got a 6th coming in back. And the amount of torpedoes these are able to put out is going to shred anything. And EspiranTo's desperately trying to throw destroyers as well as the Cougars forward. Tech 2 torpedo boats belonging to the UEF, but when you've got this many experimental units, as well as, I don't know what to call it, it's just an intercontinental air force, perhaps something the balance people no doubt going to look at some moment in time. And now look at this, the intercontinentals going after the experimental bomber belonging to Rezy. Forgive us for missing that snipe there. I'm far more interested in what these intercontinental ships are able to pull off. And of course, the shield having gone down, it's only a matter of time before they replenish. EspiranTo, the first player, going down there, minute 33. Base gets handed off to Terarii, who's going to control naval on both sides. Although, naval on this side feels very much like a lost cause. Yes, he's been given a huge number of battleships and battle cruisers, but they've got no way to defend themselves against this relentless air pressure. Experimental bomber from Rezy ground fires atop of these experimental aircraft carriers from UEF, the massive subs. But look at this! The Continentals chase up the experimental bomber. And look at the hit points shedding. That was a full health experimental bomber. And it's now less than 50%. It finally manages to outrun. Look at this masterful play here from Trandan. Splits off his ASF. He knows he hasn't got air. Shoots down the experimental bomber. He tries to bring him back. But alas, most of those run a suicide mission. Blast Shield does get on their 6. And yeah, Trandan turns him around, throws him away. Tries to get these. Oh, and it works just about. It's just enough to cause Blast Shield a moment of pause. He swings round. But the Continental bombers here just continuing to lay down huge amounts of fire. If we bring the camera down, we can see what they're unleashing onto this Tech 3 naval yard there, currently in the Terarii's hands. And all of these engineers are desperately trying to repair it. The problem is, each one of these engineers, look at that, is expending 3 mass per tick, and there's 100. There's about 100 there, and they're trying to repair a naval yard in a fight that they can't possibly win. And to make matters worse, just experimental aircraft carriers here. A slight counter-attack from Terarii. A shed load of torpedo boats, but whether they win this or not almost feels like a moot point. You bag themselves 1, 2. Of course, a large number of these were heavily damaged thanks to the experimental bomber. But either way, he may win this particular battle, but it looks like he's going to lose the war. Yet another experimental bomber from EspiranTo. Gets shot down, but at what cost? Is Trandan going to lose his air? It's close, but I think Blast Shield might have got this one. As I send a big load of coffee across the desk in my excitement, well, that's across the desk, across myself. Either way, a much needed victory there for Team 1 up top. And Blast Shield once again regains air control. But how is it going to fare versus all of these experimental, rather the intercontinentals? And this here was a challenge for the screenshot. Look at them all tumbling out the sky as the shields finally collapse. And their air dominance is outnumbered by Blast Shield there with his ASF. And that shows a huge quantity of ASF does still beat a reasonable quantity of Continentals, especially when most of them had already lost their shield. And with that, we'll resume pace there. Well worth slowing down time to see those tumbling out the sky. Again, it was a close call for the thumbnail, but I thought, I don't know. And an experimental bomber again from EspiranTo. I'm not sure how many of these as he's produced thus far. 16 kills, 4,100 mass to his name. At least for now keeps Terarii in it, but it's close. Terarii does get himself another naval yard online. Rezy's got an experimental aircraft carrier here with 26 kills. And if you trickle in these boats, this experimental aircraft carrier is just going to have its way. Another pass on the experimental bomber. Now with 21 kills, 5,300 mass. And Trandan's hot on its tail. Having a quick look, you can see here, RezyNoob tries to get it away. And Trandan realizing the air here from Blast Shield is on his case, runs away. And RezyNoob very quick to recognize that and swings the experimental bomber back round. Oh, and makes a terrible turn. And Trandan very, very quick off the blocks, picks off the bomber. And again, guys, look at the split there. He takes the majority of his Air Force home. He leaves a few of his ASF to ensure he bags himself the bomber, who are then on a suicide mission. Fantastic play. Trandan, the 2000 rated, is playing one of the best games I've ever seen an air player do. His ability to rush that air out early on and his ability to micro and split units off on battles he can't win. Fantastic. And he's now sending a large wave of scouts over the top. And despite the ceasefire here in the DMZ, seems players are happy to agree, yeah, but we're not going to allow air to fly over the top of it. RezyNoob says follow. And I can only assume he means his experimental bomber. And once again, more Continentals from TheWheelie, whose only intent seems to be going after the experimental bomber. And once again, a bit of a mistake here, I think, from Blast Shield. And that allows Trandan once again to pick off another experimental bomber. Problem is this air now all lost? See Trandan's air getting split off more and more. And that is going to allow Blast Shield to pick off. Look at that! He splits the air off into 4 separate groups. 1, 2, 3, 4. His thinking being, if Blast Shield is moving all his airs one homogeneous group, he's only going to be able to go after one group. And I don't believe it. He keeps most of that air alive. What a masterful split. So he'd already split it off once, but that one group that was sent on to go after that bomber on a suicide run then gets split off 4 ways. And Blast Shield, I think, was kind of, oh, what the hell do I go after? And ends up. It was masterful. Masterful play. Terarii pushes a Chief Jaguar ways back inside the 50-way mark for the first time in what feels like all game. But I think a Chief Jaguar says, well, I ain't bothered, though. Look, because I've got this. Yeah, an experimental battleship that can submerge itself at will. And for now, decides to fire long-range shots over. And, well, if there's ever a definition of overkill, it's a Tech 4 battleship versus the UEF floating artillery. And credit where it's due to Terarii for not having been kicked out of this drink, thanks in large part down to Rezy's Noob experimental bombers. Blast Shield's still got a lot of air in the area. It's certainly not won or lost the air game for either team. But I think what is starting to look more dicey than ever before is this South drink. Certainly if you're rooting for Team 1, things looking a little dicey. A large Continental, this time used in the way I think it's supposed to be. And that is bringing important cargo around the map. In this case, 6 RAS preset support commanders. So that's a very high value. That's probably the highest amount of value you can load onto a single transport in this game. 6 upgraded support commanders. And they're going to get to work on the Tech 3 mass points there. But let's see how quick they built that. This is real time. That's a Tech 3 capped off mass point. Let's just see how quick that goes. And then we'll quickly jump across to the other side of the map because I can see a large squadron of experimental bombers. And there we see, look at that flying up there. And once that's online, 27 mass per tick extra going into the wheelie. But here we see it. The thumbnail of all thumbnails. 6 experimental bombers with an air screen. Air screen from Blast Shield. RezyNoob with the bombers. and achieve Jaguar. Together with this large squadron of the transports there, the intercontinentals. Oh, what a huge amount of destruction. 5 of the experimental bombers remain. Then there were 4. Then there were 3. Then there were 2. But Blast Shields won the air game. Oh, and surely he's going to unload on the air grid. And the first bomb hits the shield. Trandan's air grid remains alive. This one bomber swings back round. That one goes down. And with the last experimental bomber. Oh, no. Trandan's air grid says bye-bye. And with that, 83 kills, becomes a 4-star experimental bomber. Swings back round to the second air grid belonging to Trandan. Oh, where's the bomb? It doesn't go off. Makes a turn in the worst possible position. More Samfire coming up all the time. The experimental bomber with just 20% health gets a crucial rank of vet. Takes out half of the second air grid there belonging to Trandan. 20,000 hit points remain. Air screen in perfect health. And gets another bomb off. And Trandan with just 4,000 hit points left on his commander. Bows out minute 43. And the one experiment, don't forget there were 6 of them that came across. And it was one experimental bomber with less than 20% health that's put out more damage than the other 5 combined. $15,000 hit points remain. And now it's Wheelie's turn to take over the air. And all of these intercontinentals bitten off a bit more than they can chew versus all this air from Blast Shield. Problem is, Wheelie's saturated the area with SAM sites. And despite losing air, these experimental bombers are going to start and struggle, certainly if they venture over this side of the map again. EspiranTo brings in a resupply with the second experimental bomber now. That one with 21 kills. This first one, though, 143 kills, having killed 175,000 mass. And he's working on a hover bomb, 3 quantum gateways, and a shed load of support commanders. Quantum gateways go down, and all of these support commanders are below half health. One more bomb here. And here it comes. Bang, bang. The devastation. Unreal. 276,000 mass for this one, the 5-star. Wheelie's with 10 kills. And more devastation. Oh, not a good place to hang around. And there goes the 5-star bomber, gets shot down. Oh, and another experimental bomber from EspiranTo. He's spamming these out almost as quick as the other team can shoot them down. But huge numbers of Continentals now. And they seem to be really good at shooting down the experimental bombers. Yes, they're not so good versus the ASF. That goes so far to say they're actually better than ASF at shooting down the experimental bombers here. This experimental bomber is a 5-star, 212,000 mass to its name. There seems to be a lot of jostling to and fro. But I love what the Southern team are doing here, just sporadically spamming out SAM sites. And here we see it. The experimental bomber flies into all of these Continentals who are going after the experimental bomber. And the hit points just shedding off that thing. Blast Shield thinks, oh no, fires his ASF back towards the intercontinentals. But I think it's too little too late. The experimental bomber there goes down. Huge number of kills though. Another 5-star. And with that, SAM Site City, together with these intercontinentals, I think Blast Shield's air supremacy days are numbered. And he thinks so too, and he runs away. And so it would seem that it's intercontinental versus ASF. How many we got? 105 ASF plus 7 that are out of fuel versus 90 intercontinentals being used basically as restorers. Problem is for Team 1, They're restorers, and they've got shields. Going after the fighter bombers now belonging to Blast Shield. And just look at it. Unbelievable. Keep them moving then. Really says, I hear you. And I don't believe that. Incredible use. Meanwhile, down here, more of these experimental bombers belonging to Team 1. And they're just carving up the situation. Going after, oh my goodness, all of these RAS preset support commanders. That is a huge economic loss. This is a 5-star, this is a 3-star, and this one trailing only has 4 kills. And there's already another one. They're spitting out these experimental bombers like no tomorrow. Problem is this. How many? Have you ever seen that many? In a quote-unquote Setons Pro. We're not talking about sandboxing by yourself with cheats on. No. And it looks like TheWheelie is determined to win this game using his intercontinental gunships. And with this many... And I love the sporadic scattering of the base. This is very hard to destroy, is this base. Because sure, if you've got a nuke, but where do you aim it? There's no central point. I mean, you could argue InsidiousNoob certainly does, but TheWheelie has no central base. It's split, good and proper, and here we see this huge air engage. And I'm just thinking here, TheWheelie, he's got to work together with his... He can't split up too much. The anti-air capacity of all of these intercontinentals. Yes, it's going to be more economically effective to do what Blast Shield is doing if you go in pure air. Look at the ability of these to run away and shoot backwards. I don't believe it. And now with a donut on the line from a Chief Jaguar. This thing has got SAM capacity of its own. They're comfortably in control down south. Massive air snipes coming in from Blast Shield with his Tech 2 fighter bombers. But what can you do when you've got this many experimental bombers overhead? A Chief Jaguar's Navy once again pushes Terarii out of the sea. Is defeated on the shoreline. Rezy Noob disappears. He was just following orders, says Terarii. Maybe due to lag, who knows? Bit of confusion there as to why he decides to quit. Wait, it doesn't damage friendly walls. My cat is intact, says Rezy, who decides to control K himself. Blast Shield once again sends some sacrificial ASF towards the donut, but I don't think it's enough. TheWheelie with this massive air screen. Guys, have you ever seen anything like this? Look at it. Talk about intercontinentals. And they're making their way towards all of these experimental bombers. Oh my goodness, look at this. That one is dead for sure. And as long as TheWheelie keeps these moving, he does bag that one. I do wonder, why isn't he being a little more aggressive? Perhaps he's enjoying this too much, but he's sending them in all the time. I've never seen a player being able to reinforce air as quickly as this. And guys, quick look at the ecos now. 3,400 versus 900. So that's about a 4-to-1 advantage favouring the southern team. And the northern team, despite having produced what must have been at least 10 experimental bombers and having complete supremacy, if you go by ASF, are going to lose. How can you have 4 experimental bombers and dominate the skies with ASF and still lose? Well, here's the answer. Intercontinental Air Force. TheWheelie is showing us. And with Team 2 starting to spread like cancer on Team 1's rock base. A Chief Jaguar lurking like a stalker with his 2 UFOs getting ready to abduct any unsuspecting victims. Starting to feel like Teams 1 days are numbered. Yes, they're working on yet more experimental bombers who are hovering dangerously. If they get shot down, perhaps not the best position ever. And Terarii, oh, he's risking things a bit here. Could this be the next commander that is going to go down? You certainly don't want to get spotted with 2 UFOs overhead. But when you've got destroyers in the drink, what can you do? Terarii, minute 51, bows out. And with that, Blast Shield left all by his lonesome versus 3 players. InsidiousNoob, not content with the way things are going, decides to spam. Blast Shield is going to be completely out APM'd. And it's still facing the wrath. Go on then. Use them. No. Yes. No. Rezy Noob finds the whole thing hilarious. Strategic missile sub fires one out from InsidiousNoob. And the ping's going down over here. This is an interesting target. Not sure quite what he was going after there. But finally, this massive air engage. And for the first time I've ever seen my PC drop below 0 is now. It's -2. -1. Oh my goodness. Slow time down manually because I just want everybody to just enjoy this and what is surely going to be the end of the game. This is what it looks like to have an intercontinental air force over the top of your base. And they're going to start raining down like dominoes. Look at them dropping out the sky. Have you ever seen anything as beautiful as the carnage and the destruction that we witness here? Look at it go. Two more nukes launched out from InsidiousNoob and his navy. And we'll quickly switch back to the regular view. And the intercontinentals, despite having lost hundreds of them, I think have done their job. Look at this. Blast Shield and his base is no more. I think there's enough intercontinentals there to finish the job, should they wish. Blast Shield in the middle of his base. And TheWheelie says, no, I'll tell you what. Let's leave you to stand amongst your wrecks. Meanwhile, the experimental bombers over on the other side of the map from Blast Shield. Oh, and they bag themselves. InsidiousNoob, minute 53. It's all but over, and InsidiousNoob bows out. Meanwhile, we've got another huge destruction there. These nukes are just firing across. I think TheWheelie having a little bit of fun there. Recognizes that he could win this with his nukes a lot quicker if he tried. Finally, the Intercontinental Air Force is shot down. On minute 54, we can go back to full base. Yet more unnecessary irradiation being dealt into the northern pond. And there we see it. Masses of radiation envelop the atmosphere. The SAM sites now littering the area from Blast Shield. You see how long it takes these SAM sites to chew through the shields of these intercontinentals. And of course, providing they never do. Oh my goodness, how quick is TheWheelie able to reinforce these? He's already got 231, despite having lost them all. He's determined to win this game using the Intercontinental. Blast Shield gets an experimental bomber online, no doubt just in time to get itself shot down. TheWheelie says you've played in this game long enough. I think Blast Shield might just be able to get that away. And once again, Continental versus Samsite City. I think Blast Shield is thinking, oh no, these are actually quite good. And Wheelie says, well, yeah, I'm a 2400. You didn't think I was going to do something that didn't work, did you? And once again, we're treated to this incredible spectacle of huge amounts of destruction. The intercontinentals unleashing their firepower and dropping out the sky like dominoes. I'm just starting to feel that Blast Shield will go back to full pace. Despite the shenanigans from Wheelie, he's running out of options. And look how few kills these Sams have got, just 2 or 3 kills, despite of having all of that time. And that just shows how effective the shields are of these intercontinentals. And I think Wheelie is able to produce more now than Blast Shield can shoot down. And he's not giving up. Oh, he's producing a transport. Blast Shield decides, enough of this nonsense. It's time for me to try something fancy of my own. And let's keep an eye on our friend now, Blast Shield. Is he going to pull anything off? Well, we're going to find out. Switch back to global view. Here he goes. Problem is, he's got so many of these intercontinentals who've all got their own anti-air capacity. There is Wheelie. Oh, and he gets shot down. He gets picked up. Ladies and gentlemen, what an incredible game on this Sunday. The Setons 4 versus 4. 56 minutes, 38 seconds. As far as I'm concerned, with all of these intercontinentals, that's an epic. Ensure that you hit the like if you like it. And until next time, from me, hope you're doing all right. Take care, wherever in the world you may be. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Great to see you again, and until next time, bye-bye.